We have arrived at the famous Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Stavelot for the running of the Belgian Grand Prix, the race which is held right on the edge of Belgium. Coming into this week, two drivers have been making the news this week. The first team news of the day concerns Renault, as they have announced that 9-time race winner Evan Byrne will remain with the team for the 5th successive season. Evan has had another great season despite at times being outpaced by his younger teammate Jake Galloway. He currently lies 9th in the Drivers' Championship, 14 points behind Kirishima De Rosa, and his team Renault lie 4th in the Constructors, a massive 59 points behind Racing Point. Evan's highest moment of the season obviously came at Bahrain when he finally ended his podium drought and took a brilliant 3rd position. Evan will be looking to have an amazing 5th successive season with Renault and will be hoping the team makes a big leap in 2021 to fight at the front. The only question remaining at Renault is who will be Evan's teammate, with Jake Galloway being confirmed last week to be moving to Ferrari in 2021. It so far looks like it will be a straight fight between current Renault test driver and GP2 Championship contender Jesus Perinen and current DTM Championship leader Romain Quarg. It will be interesting to see who ends up being Evan's teammate for 2021. The second and final team news of the day concerns Racing Point, or I should say Aston Martin, as they have announced that Hungarian driver Roland Mottram will remain with the team for another season. Roland has had an amazing 2020 of him breaking a lot of ducks this season. He currently lies 6th in the Drivers' Championship, having just overtaken Jake Galloway in the last race, and his team Racing Point lie 3rd in the Constructors, with a massive 59-point gap ahead of Renault as we have mentioned earlier. Roland this season managed to finally end his podium drought at Hockenheim when his teammate George Roth led him an unexpected 1-2 finish for the team, with Roland still yet to reach the top step of the podium, having come close on 2 occasions this season. He'll be looking to have a brilliant end to the season, and he'll be hoping the team makes a leap towards the top in 2021, especially when the Silverstone-based team rebrands itself to Aston Martin. The only question remaining at Aston Martin is who will be Roland's teammate, with rumours suggesting that George Roch is more likely to leave the team at the end of the season, with him fighting for a possible Red Bull seat, given the rumours about Miklos Gau going to AlphaTauri. At the moment, it seems there will be a three-way scrap for that seat should George leave, which will be between current GP2 Championship leader Aaron Curtis and current DTM Championship contenders Julius Anderson, who is determined to get back in the top class, and Daniel Adventure, who is having a resurgence in his career in DTM. It will be fascinating to see who comes out on top in this battle. And that is it for this week's edition of the GP4 OC News. The next team news will break at the Italian Grand Prix next week, who will be announced due into practice next Tuesday at Monza. Hello everybody and welcome to the practice session here for the Belgian Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I am JW97 as per usual, and I don't really have a commentator alongside me today because
yes you do.
So I'm getting to that. So instead I've got the man who's got a bit of an injured knee at the moment. That is Yuri Marta.
Hello. First I'm going to ask, what are those blue things in the screen? I have never seen that before. Is it a bug?
Yeah. No, it's not a bug. As you can see for practice, we are going to have some rain. Not initially, because as you can see, it will be dry to start off with a bit of cloud cover. But towards the end of the session, we should expect some light rain, as you can see from the colour code. So I'm going to first of all double check to see if we've got any test drivers in the cars for today. I think there might be, might not.
No.
Oh, okay.
There isn't. At least on my list there wasn't.
Nope, you are correct. There is none expected. So yeah, no test drivers, all the main drivers in for this one. So without further ado, let's get into the practice session. So obviously, if you've only just joined in and you haven't seen the news yet, of course, two drivers who are being retained for another season, that being Evan Byrne, who'll be staying on at Renault for next season, not Alpine, as some people mistook. And of course, Roland Mottram will indeed be staying at Racing Point when they become Aston Martin. Not really much of a surprise, would you say, Yuri?
No, quite obvious choices for those teams. Of course, it's the early days of the announcement, so we haven't really gotten into the tough ones yet. But
no, not yet.
I do believe there will be some surprises incoming.
Usually the tough ones come about when there's usually one that gets announced during the week, but we haven't got there yet.
I'm going to answer to Franco, or kind of answer. I just seen it in his comments. There is no snow expected for the rest of the year. But then again, saying that there will be snow. But at least it's showing good for. It's showing sunshine and rainbows for the next week.
Indeed so. Well, the practice session is underway and Andre Vaderi is the first man out on track. The man, of course, who finished 7th last time out in Hungary. A very good result for him in the Alfa Romeo. And it'd be very interesting to see if he will end up getting retained by AlphaTauri at some point. Still not yet to be confirmed, although we did see in the pilot episode it is highly likely he will be retained. But the last time I said that, of course, last season, he then started to drop down a little bit, and then it became a little bit of a threat as to whether he would get retained. But in the end, he did. And but so far, a very good season for Vaderi, despite the fact that this year's Alfa Romeo has gone a little bit backwards this season, it is fair to say. Obviously finishing 5th last season in the Constructors' Championship, somehow. And this season currently languishing 8th in the Constructors. I think they are a clear 8th, though, to be honest with you, because they've got a 29-point buffer between themselves and Williams, who find themselves with a 10-point buffer ahead of both Manor and Haas. Those two teams still yet to score a point this season, and it has been a bit of a surprise to me throughout the course of the season that for most of the season, Manor have been able to stay ahead of Haas this season in the Constructors. Whether they'll keep that up right until the end of their top-class career, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see, of course, because there has been a few occasions this season where Haas have come close to points, but bad luck has struck them. Just look at Silverstone, for example, where Dudu Kirby was looking at getting some very good points for the team, but then his engine decided to let him down, and then he had another mechanical problem, in fact, at Budapest. Haas have been very unlucky this season, it is fair to say, and well, so far it's been a disastrous year for the American team, a season after they lost their Rich Energy sponsorship, of course. Here is Franco Gamber in the Red Bull. Obviously, he was not very happy with Budapest. Obviously, he took pole position, let's not forget, at Budapest after a exciting qualifying session. But in the race, of course, was put on the wrong strategy, and then he ended up finishing 5th in the race with his teammate Miklos Gau going on to win what was his home Grand Prix. And, of course, Gau... utterly dominant performance in front of his home fans at Budapest. Not as dominant as what Franco Lopez did the previous season, where he won the race by an entire lap, but still a convincing performance nonetheless. And obviously question marks surrounding Gal as to what team he'll be next season because of the obvious AlphaTauri rumours that are going about, with him putting that as his number one choice. But he could still get retained by Red Bull should he miss out on AlphaTauri. But we'll have to wait and see on that one because
yeah, right. Let's be real. Let's be real. Do you think when you are a midfield team and world champion who's having, let's be honest, a good season, wants to come and drive for you, and it's with the same company, it's almost given that Gal will be going there and leaving Red Bull by his own choice?
Oh, I don't want to say anything really. Because I know that some people are currently underrating a particular driver so far in the sign-ups. I'm not going to name names, but that's that really. Anyway,
we can name names. Down. I can name names.
I don't. Anyway,
Franco, stop bullying Chris Chatfield. He's not as bad as you think.
Anyway, as we've got some lap times on the board. It's Q-Pot 9 thousandths off of Franco Gamber with Vaderi 25 thousandths off. As Lopez currently getting held up by the Ferrari here. I think that's is that Laura Chung he's getting held up by? It's one of the Ferraris, I'm not 100% sure. But that's not going to help his lap time any good as De Rosa now goes to the top with a 145.701. So he goes to the top by 54 thousandths of a second. Rote goes into 5th position. Not sure if he had traffic on his lap because I expect the racing points to do well around here, given it's a power track. Gal goes to the top meanwhile by 83 thousandths of a second, as we were speaking of Gal there. So Martinez goes into 3rd position, and so Chung goes to 9th. Willows now goes to the top of the timing sheet. Look at that, yeah. As Galloway goes to the top now, and by 39 thousandths of a second.
This track is notorious for having... This and Monza probably have the biggest effect on how the AI do their car setup. So even like a team that is a little bit off the pace under normal circumstances might just hit it off at Spa and Monza. Like it's happened a few times. Of course, the top teams are the top teams, but if I was to expect a surprise pole position, it's either here or next week at Monza.
Yeah, especially with slipstream being a key with both of these tracks as well. Could be a thing as well, as the two Williamses are practicing some slipstreaming. In fact, as Griffith's trying to get a healthy bit of slipstream off his teammate Felix Sontag, and in fact going to try and overtake him into the chicane, in fact, which he does do very cleanly, in fact. Now, one thing I will also talk about with this track, you mentioned it as well when it comes to maybe a chance of surprise pole sitters. Well, this track has got a bit of a characteristic that you normally see in the race, because it's pretty much like 9 times out of 10 given that if you start in second place in this race, you're more than likely going to take the lead into the first corner, given how the track is sort of set up for the pole sitter around this version of Belgium. I think it's actually the same with the other version of Belgium as well. I don't really know why that is, but it's kind of one of those characteristics that seems to be a thing around with Belgium. I think there's only been the odd few occasions where it hasn't happened, and in fact the guy starting in second place has dropped back at the start. But
I think there's been one time in F1 where the second place driver dropped back, and I think it was James Willows. I just don't remember which season it happened. Like it was a Red Bull driver from the... It was either Willows or Gal with Red Bull, but I just don't remember what... It was between 2010 and 2013, but I just don't remember the particular race.
I might have to look back on the video archive for that.
As we can see how powerful the Ferrari is in that straight line.
If only if it was 2019, it'd be a completely different story as well. It's 47,000 up on his personal best and 47,000 down on Galloway. A bit of ironic there. Well, what have you sent me on Discord? Because I'm scared to open it. So I'm not going to bother trying to open that. So anyway, as Gamber now then is coming around the last chicane. As now we look at Chris Chatfield, who, of course, let's not forget about with Chris Chatfield. I need to put a little reminder. He does have a 5-place grid penalty for this race after causing a crash with Jake Galloway in the last race. So wherever Chris Chatfield ends up in qualifying later today, he will drop 5 places back. So just a little bit of a reminder to people watching in the stream today. And I will remind people again in qualifying, because I know that we do have higher viewers usually during qualifying compared to what we do in practice, even with the news video. So as... Franco Garma now then comes down the Kemmel Straight as he'll be approaching the end of the first sector. Currently, shitting a bit wrong, concentrating. As Lopez improves, only up to 11th. I think he's still getting stuck behind... is he still stuck behind Roberto Gamber? I believe he is, because I think Roberto is in the pits. Speaking of a Ferrari, Laura Chung has now just come into the pits while she had one of the Renaults behind her.
Gotta be honest, I'm expecting this and next week to be a complete write-off for Ferrari.
Like in real life, basically. So, well, speaking of Ferrari, of course, because next week their livery is going to look a little bit different next week, because of course they'll be running the Burgundy livery that they ran in the real-life Tuscan Grand Prix next week at Monza. So you'll be seeing the Burgundy Ferrari next week at Monza.
Yep,
so
might as well use it since it existed and they raced it once in real life. I got the numbers ready and everything.
Plus, it was ran at an Italian track, so it kind of makes sense. And given that we don't go to Mugello in the top class, it only makes sense to put it in Monza. As George Rope, meanwhile, is stuck behind a Ferrari, this one being Roberto Gamber, so it appears that Lopez has been able to get past him as Galloway gets a little bit of a twitch there through into turn 8 before going around the renamed Jackie X corner. It did used to be nicknamed the corner with no name, but a few years ago it was finally christened a name, that being the Jackie X corner. As now we go through Pouan now then, as now... making our way through Lafagna, we will go through then of turns 12 and 13 on the track. And to be honest, this track gives me a bit of nightmares on Gran Turismo 7, of course, because we've just this is just coming off the week after Gran Turismo 7 got released, and if anybody's played the licenses, specifically the last licenses on the super license bit, you all know that it is a pain in the ass to get right, really. It is a pain, really. It took me about an hour and 40 minutes to get gold on that. As meanwhile, Lopez goes into the top 10, but only into 10th position. He had no traffic that time, so I wonder how much of his tyres has been shot by whilst being behind Roberto Gamber. I should point out, speaking of tyres, the tyres we are using for this race will be the medium tyres, as you can see, the yellow medium tyres. So it will be interesting to see what sort of strategy everybody goes with, of course, because we know that each tyre has a wear ratio, really. A wear range, I should say, between all the compounds. It'll be very interesting to see whether it leans towards the wear side or more the preservative side.
Personal prediction, I think 1 or 2 stops is going to be the best here. A 3 stop, if you want to get that 3 stop to work, you need to be really fast.
Okay. You need to be basically Laura Chung fast, as we saw last season when Laura Chung completely dominated this race, when the Ferrari actually had some power in the back of it. Obviously this season, as we know, the Ferrari doesn't really seem to have the straight line speed this season, and they'll be hoping they can try and rectify that next season with the first season of the Fantasy era. Apparently, Yuri knows, what the pecking order is, but he's not going to tell us, obviously. We have to wait until we get to the pre-season test, really.
So... a little bit of explanation. I do the performance. I do the dynamic performance around a week before the sign-ups. So I know everything ready, and then I'm just going to laugh or be amazed at people's choices. And when we get to the pre-season testing, you guys will know somewhat of the pecking order, of course. The plan is the pre-season testing tracks are still to be announced. So expect Barcelona and Bahrain, but unless I decide otherwise, it's going to be those 2. But it's going to be interesting to see, because this is probably the first time when you actually just need to use pre-season testing to know where you might end up, as Sontag gets rules horribly wrong. Or was there contact?
This Haas in front. This Haas being, if I'm trying to look at the helmet, that is Daniel Fraser to be exact. And no, there wasn't contact. Sontag was trying to avoid him and ended up getting caught on the curb there. This corner, as you know from previous races using this version of Spa, has been known for taking people's front wings off. So Felix, you could say, a little bit lucky not to lose his front wing on this part.
Yeah.
So maybe something to watch out, of course, in the race
also,
as well,
yeah.
Rallyon is usually known for that.
So in the test race, it was otherwise, in terms of AI to AI collisions, it was clean, but we noticed an high amount of crashing in couple of corners, specifically the corner you crashed in 2018. So I don't know the name, so that's why I said it like that. So the base mistake rate has been lowered a little bit.
Okay. Well, Willows is getting held up by one of the manners there. Willows currently in 3rd in this practice session at the moment. Galloway still currently top at the moment in the Renault. Whether it will get beaten later on, we'll have to wait and see. As Griffiths goes up into 14th in the Williams there. Q-Pot making his way towards the last chicane, and so now making his way through the right and left hander. It's still got the wrong number on his car, I've noticed as well, because he's meant to be 36 on that car, not 32. That's Lincoln Parner's number. But anyway, it's now Q-Pot makes his way down the pit straight, as he'll now make his way towards turn 1, and so coming out of that corner now then, using a lot of curb on the outside. But yeah, back to your point about obviously the fantasy era as well, of course. I mean, that's kind of why this sign-up process was probably going to be a bit exciting, because it's going to be very interesting to see who's chosen right and who's chosen wrongly, really. Because, of course, Yuri, before anybody says that he's got biased preference to any of the teams, Yuri is running it on a system he's got. So that's to make sure he's not biased with any of the teams, really.
Yeah, and I run my system. And then it's all from there. There's the only things with the system is if the first time I do it, there's a minimum gap between, not minimum, maximum gap between the first and the last, or the fastest and the slowest team, and then there is a maximum gap that any 2 teams can have. So the maximum, it's based on it's based on the GP4 edit performance calculator. So I will say on oh shit, here's some crash.
Dudu Kirby's had a crash,
Lopez.
and it looks like he's collided with Lopez. So let's have a look and see. It looks like Lopez may have been a bit ambitious going into poo on here. Going into the corner, and well, you could say that Lopez had the right to be there. It just looks more like that Dudu Kirby wasn't really paying attention to his mirrors, you could say there.
Yeah, it's a weird incident. I don't think I've seen that one before. But to get back into what I was saying, so on the seasons where we get lucky, the gap between the cars will be really small, but then the maximum gap between the fastest team and the slowest team is 3 seconds on the calculator.
Okay. Meanwhile, whilst you were talking there, Motrin has now gone to the top of the timing sheets by nearly 0.2 of a second. So now Roland Motrin, the man who has just been confirmed to be remaining at Racing Point for next season when they become Aston Martin, has gone to the top of the timing sheets at this point in time. So the Racing Point's starting to show the pace that I'm sort of predicting they do around here in Belgium, because it is a power track, and we know that the Racing Point, along with the Mercedes, is usually good at straight line speed. So
and they have good memories.
And also keep an eye on the And also keep an eye on the Renaults as well, because we know how very draggy that car is. They usually do well at power tracks as well. So keep an eye on Galloway and Byrne this week as well, to see how well they do around Spa, and even at Monza next week as well. So that's going to be quite interesting. As now we go through the Jackie X corner. Now, just a note as well for anybody who's in Formula E and BTCC, Yui will be live streaming Formula E and BTCC this weekend for their latest rounds, as we try and get the season finished before the season comes to a close, of course. So we will be live streaming them this weekend, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. At what time? Not sure yet. That's still yet to be determined. So just
depends when I wake up.
Not really. So anyway, probably let you know on the day really when that happens. So anyway, as meanwhile one of the McLarens there just got by on Laura Chung. Not sure which McLaren that was, as Chung makes her way down towards turn 8 now. Then, as we said, this could be a bit of a nightmare for any, not just Ferrari, but any of the Ferrari powered teams this weekend. So I'll say this week really. So the Alfa Romeos and the Hasses, they might be in a little bit of a spot of bother this week here at Belgium, and maybe even at Monza as well. So something to really keep an eye on there. As Kupok crosses the line, he doesn't improve. He remains in 9th position at the moment in the Honda-powered AlphaTauri as he makes his way through into La Source. As Franco Gamber now goes to the top of the time sheets with a 1:44.713, so 6 tenths quicker than Roland Motrin. So the Red Bulls still showing some pace around this type of track. So I still expect the Red Bulls to be up there as well, along with Mercedes as well, and maybe even the Racing Points and the Renaults, but we'll have to wait and see on that, as one of the McLarens is about to cross the line. Fraser back in the pits with just over 13 minutes to go. Now, of course, let's not forget, we do have a bit of rain predicted towards the end of this session. Whether it will arrive or not is another question. I don't expect it to wet the track up because it is only light rain, but we'll wait and see as Chong re-overtakes that McLaren that passed a little bit earlier on. Not sure which McLaren that is, but as Kupok now then is coming back into the pits this lap, as he's currently behind Andrea Vaderi at the moment. Kupov, of course, is one of the contenders for Alfa Romeo, should he lose out on the AlphaTauri seat because of the whole situation with Miklos Gau. So at least Kupok has a backup option in case he loses out on the AlphaTauri drive. But a lot of people predicting that he's going to be the one to partner alongside Gau next season, should Gau end up at AlphaTauri, providing he doesn't all of a sudden drop down a cliff. So in terms of performance, is Kupok having not the best middle sector, it's fair to say. Well, he is coming into the pits this lap anyway, so
and
it's not going to really
been
matter
on the track
too
for
much.
10 laps.
Yeah, so he's done nearly 10 laps worth of running with these medium tyres. So the only two in the pits right now are Gal and Fraser, as Kupok now then coming up towards last chicane. Through the right he goes, and then into the pits he goes. Now then, as we ride on board with Roberto Gamber, as his cousin Franco goes into the pits, having just set the 1:44.713 we just saw, which has put him 6 tenths clear of Roland Motrin at the moment, as Franco Gamber makes his way into the pit lane. and he'll be wanting to forget what happened in Hungary. Still yet to get his second ever victory in the top class. He's had 2 poles this season, but yet still yet to grab that brass ring again on the top step of the podium. He hasn't had a win, of course, since the first race of 2019, the Australian Grand Prix. Still yet to add a second to his trophy cabinet at the moment. Will it come this season? That is another question, as his cousin Roberto makes his way out of the final chicane as Dudu Kirby improves, as he's actually got into the spare car, having crashed with Franco Lopez a little bit earlier on. Lopez, of course, having to come back into the pits to change his front wing. Roberto Gamber does not improve as Joseph Willows now then comes into the pits, currently in P5. So I believe it was Kirishima De Rosa that Chung was having a little battle with on the straight, but De Rosa is also in the pits. So I wonder if that battle was slightly come to an end as a result. So Willows then. Byrne, meanwhile, goes up into third. So 3-4 now for the 2 Renaults. Evan Byrne getting up into third. The man, of course, confirmed to be remaining at Renault for the 5th successive season. Kind of distancing himself from that little meme he had all them seasons ago, where he ended up swapping teams every season. So kind of distancing himself from that. It's very clear that his mind is set on trying to turn Renault around, a long-term project for the Irishman, and he hopes that Renault is going to be competitive in 2021 and hopefully fight towards the front. Same really with Roland Motrin, who will be staying, of course, with the rebranded Aston Martin for next season. As we ride on board with Roberto Gamber, the man who hasn't scored points for a few races now, most of it through no fault of his own. And of course, he is a man, like with his cousin, who'll want to forget Hungary for a completely different reason. I mean, the poor guy was stuck on a strategy which saw him on 43 lap fuel, really, and he ended up finishing 12th as a result, battling with Manners. So a day to forget, really, for Roberto Gamber, and be looking to bounce back here at the Belgian Grand Prix, and as mentioned, hasn't scored points since I want to say the French Grand Prix, I think. So yeah, it's not been a very good last few races for Roberto Gamber, most of it through no fault of his own, really.
Yeah, and like the qualifying have been quite good for him, even like I remember Silverstone, for example. But yeah, I'd still say his overall performance of this season is definitely on the positive side.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well. Of course, he is obviously, as we know with Ferrari, we know that one driver will be leaving the team at the end of the season. It's looking more likely it will be Laura Chung, given the fact that she put Lamborghini as a first choice, and the rumours are suggesting that Roberto is more than likely going to stay on at Ferrari for another season, unless his performances start to dip, as Franco Lopez now then goes to the top of the timing sheets. There you go. The Mercedes gets to the top of the timing sheets by 1/10 for 1:44.612. Lopez to the top. Might have got a little bit of slipstream there from the Renault in front, so might have got a little bit of a helping hand there. But Lopez, the current championship leader and the defending champion, of course, and the current championship leader, I think I may have said that twice there by mistake, has gone to the top of the timing sheets. So
Mercedes took some sandbags off.
Indeed. And as meantime, Miklos Gal makes his way through the Coombe now then, and as he'll now make his way around turn 8 now then, which is a name that keeps escaping me, and then down towards the Jackie X corner. And now using a little bit of curb on the outside before making his way down towards Pouon. And now through the double left-hander. And now in towards Lafagna he will go, as Lopez still getting a little bit of slipstream behind from Evan Byrne at the moment. So far then, with just over 8 minutes to go, this is what the leaderboard currently looks like. Lopez at the top with Franco Gamber in second, Motrin third, Byrne fourth, Galloway in fifth, Carr in sixth, Willows seventh, then it is Gal in eighth, De Rosa in ninth, with Kupok in 10th, Aderi 11th, Roke in 12th, then Chatfield 13th, Chung 14th, Gomez 15th, Fraser in 16th, with Griffith 17th, Kirby in 18th, Sontag 19th, Roberto Gamber all the way down in 20th, with Martinez in 21st and Wilson in 22nd position. The two manners bringing up the rear of the field in this practice session, as Lopez is going to try and have a go at Evan Byrne into the chicane, and he gets the job done there. So Lopez gets by on the Renault, as Miklos Gal crosses the line, not able to improve, as Gomez is trying to find a way through, and I believe this is Rosetta Martinez he's trying to get by, which he's able to do so. We're actually seeing quite a lot of overtakes into this chicane during this practice session, because it's often quite a rarity at times. Not too much of a rarity, but it's not often that we do see plenty of overtakes at that last chicane, often bump and runs, to be honest with you. But yeah, we're seeing quite a lot of it in practice. Maybe an omen for the race tomorrow. Who knows? As Gao is trying to get a bit of slipstream from Laura Chung in front, but he's still down on his personal best, as you can see on the def panel in the first sector. The man, of course, who won his home Grand Prix last time out, and looking to continue that momentum here in Belgium, but at the moment down in 8th in this practice session. So whether he's just sandbagging at the moment in this practice session is another question. Probably is, given his teammates up in 2nd place at the moment, as we ride on board with Gabriel Gomez, who had a very good race at Hungary. In fact, Alfa Romeo as a whole had a very good race, getting a double points finish, finishing 7th and 8th, and putting him a little bit more clearer from the other 3 bottom teams, Williams, Manor and Haas, because it's fair to say that Alfa Romeo have now dropped towards that bottom part of the field, but they have been putting in some great performances, especially for Dairy. Gomez, for the 2nd season in a row, as you know, his future with the team is a little bit wavy at the moment, it's fair to say. He's had some moments of brilliance, and then other times he's not had the best of races, it's fair to say, and given the stack of competition that's going on at Alfa Romeo, which consists of a load of GP2 drivers, even some current top class drivers who could get the seat if they miss out on certain seats, some DTM drivers as well. It could be interesting. As Willows, meanwhile, gets up into 4th position, gets in front of both Renaults, as De Rosa now then in the other McLaren gets up into 6th, so the McLaren's mingling it a bit with the Renaults at the moment, being in 4th and 6th at this point in time, as Gal trying to get past Laura Chung and doesn't improve. Lopez behind, he doesn't improve despite being clear of Evan Byrne, remains on a 1:44.612 as they come out of La Source now then, before making their way down the support pit straight, before making their way down towards Eau Rouge and Radion, through Eau Rouge and then into Radion. And no, I'm not going to do that dead meme, because that meme, as I've just said, is dead. Carr is up into 3rd position now then, so Carr has been able to get a big improvement there, so 1-3 now then for the Mercedes. Will Gao get by on Chung this time by? He will do indeed, so Gao disposes of Chung down at the Kemmel Straight, and in fact is up on his personal best as a result in the first sector, thanks to that little bit of slipstream he got there from Laura Chung, as he now makes his way through turn 8 and then into turn 9. And of course, in real life, this track is being redone to try and get motorcycle racing back on this track. Even having a brand new corner installed for the motorcycles at turn 9 there. The F1 cars will still have the same old corner, but MotoGP will have a special corner in play for that, as that was nearly close to contact there between Chatfield and Martinez there. And so yeah, that nearly resulted in a bit of a disaster there for the pair of them. Of course, a reminder as well that Chatfield, speaking of which, as we're looking at him, has got a 5-place grid penalty for this race. So, of course, that was for the crash that he caused with Jake Galloway in the last race of Hungary, which wasn't, for once, a turn 3 glitch. The only turn 3 glitch that we had in that race was the one between Roque and Martinez. All the other glitches seemed to happen at turn 1, which seemed to be slowly developing last season as well, and then kind of exploded a bit in 2020 as well.
Yeah, so, and the turn 3 with Roque and Martinez was a lapped car thing, so I think that did affect it. On cars with same lap, the only incidents we saw was in turn 1, which I do think is fixable, but Hungary, the track, is definitely getting into the right direction.
I think we're slowly getting there, of course. Of course, I hope people as well, speaking of Hungary, I hope you guys enjoyed the Hungarian commentary version of the Hungarian GP highlights that were put out. Bent's once again doing his magic there, having last time done Hungarian commentary for the highlights back in 2018, as Lopez struggling to get by on the Haas there and could put in prey to the Renault, and it's again Daniel Fraser, who of course nearly had a collision with Felix Sontag a little bit earlier on. So, but it might allow Evan Byrne to get by on Franco Lopez, which won't help. But then again, it won't really matter because Lopez is coming into the pits this lap. But yeah, so far positive direction for Hungary. It will be still a little bit, there's still a bit of a mystery surrounding 2020 and 2021 in terms of what will replace Grand Prix that has been removed. Obviously, Yuri has told us a list of candidates in the sign up this discussion chat. But I'm not going to reveal them to you, and nor is Yuri. You'll just have to wait and see what that track is going to end up being. But just know that Yuri is testing a load of tracks out, and there are a list of candidates that could end up being the new round 16 for both 2020 and 2021. So that's that, really. As we just saw there, Lopez getting by on Daniel Fraser, as Mikolas Gal now makes his way through towards Stavlo now then, as he's 1 second off of Lopez in the middle sector. And so now he will now make his way towards I forgot what that bit's called now then. That's it. I've got the name now. As Wilson there just got overtaken there by, I think that was David Kupok. She just got overtaken by. Just over 2 minutes to go. We haven't seen any of the rain, so we might actually just avoid it in this session, it's fair to say, despite the percentage that we had of light rain towards the end of the session. We might just avoid it. I may jinx it at this point, so knock on wood. So as Lopez now comes back into the pits, I think it's fair to say his session is done with. Same with that runner that's just come in of Evan Byrne. So those two sessions are completely done for the day, because they're not going to have enough time to get back out and do another lap. They might just go out for a mileage run, given it is practice, but not enough time for a lap. That Ferrari that just came out there has left it a little bit late. That Ferrari being Laura Chung, because Roberto Gamber is currently out on the racetrack. As Gal is coming into the fitness lap, he'll be done for the day. As De Rosa now trying to find a way through on Dudu Kirby now, then through into turn 8. But it's not going to quite happen for the Polish driver, soon to be Italian, of course, in 2021, as we found out in the news last week. Of course, because De Rosa, of course, will be staying at McLaren for next season. Still a mystery as to who his teammate will be. Whether Willows will remain or whether he'll get booted out by one of the current GP2 drivers at the moment, whether that be Hoang-Min Nguyen or Hento Sinanome. You would probably imagine Nguyen at the moment if Willows was to be booted, but I think Willows has still got a very good chance to still be at the team next season, as meantime Roberto Gamber improves to go up into 11 to get above his teammate. So I think Ferrari, I think it's safe to say, unless they pull something out of the bag in qualifying, which is a possibility, I'm not going to rule that one out, as we've seen several times in qualifying. Ferrari might struggle in this qualifying session. Gallery wasn't able to improve as we're into the last minute of this practice session. Franco Gamber is now going to cross the line. He does not improve, as here comes Joseph Willows rounding the final chicane. Through the left-hander he will go as he makes his way onto the straight, and Joseph Willows now then will come across the line. Will he find a miracle in the last sector? The answer to that is no. Dudu Kirby has just left himself enough time to do one more lap, although in the process holding up to Rosa, who might want to try and overtake him into the first corner. Gal goes into the pits, so that's his session done with, as the Williams in front of Fraser will give himself one more lap. I believe that was Felix Sontag, as out of the final chicane goes Daniel Fraser, making his way onto the pit straight, and Fraser is now going to finish his lap, and he has not improved. He'll get one more lap as Carr and Gomez are going back into the pits this lap, I believe. So those two sessions are completely done with. As there is Chris Chatfield with 10 seconds left on the clock. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, slow clock, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Checkered flag is now out, and that's the end of the session. Mottram was the last one to cross the line. We just saw he was behind Chris Chatfield there, so Roland Mottram is the last car to complete a lap then, as we are now at the end of practice. And here comes Andrea Vaderi going around Blanchimont now then, before making his way towards the final chicane, as he'll now flick the car in through the right-hander, using a lot of curve on the inside there, and then using a tiny bit through the left-hander as he'll make his way onto the straight. And across the line now then will go Andrea Vaderi to complete his final lap of practice, and he does not improve, way off his personal best. He's been on them tyres for about 14 laps, it said there on the def panel. Roberto Gamber now then will come across the line, and he doesn't improve either. David Kupok goes back into the pits. His session is done with. Amelia Wilson down the pit straight, she will now come, and across the line she will go. She's currently in last, and she remains in last behind her teammate Martinez. Here comes Galloway through the last chicane, the Chinese Grand Prix winner, who will be heading to Ferrari next season, as we know, coming down the pit straight. And Galloway is now going across the line, and across the line he will go, and he does not improve. Franco Gamber down the pit straight he will go, across the line will go the Italian. No improvement, remains in second place. Willows is coming back into the pits. Here is Dudu Kirby, and he'll now make his way towards the final chicane. He's got De Rosa behind, so I bet these two have been holding each other up for a very, very long time. Through the right, then into the left-hander will go the Brazilian, same with Kirishima De Rosa. Onto the pit straight, across the line goes Dudu Kirby now then, and is he going to improve on this lap? And the answer to that is no, same with De Rosa. Here comes Sontag on his one and only flying lap out of coming out the pits. Through the right, then into the left he goes, and now down the The pit straight goes Felix Sontag. Across the line will go the Williams driver, the man, of course, who will be staying at Williams next season, and he does not improve. Fraser across the line, no improvement, and Motrin is just behind Chatfield, so these are the last two to cross the line. As Chatfield comes into the final chicane now, then through the right, and then into the left-hander. And I don't think either of these two are going to improve because they've been holding each other up throughout the entirety of these laps. Dennis Chatfield now then comes across the line, no improvement, and same with Motrin. And there you have it, that's practice over with Franco Lopez at the top, Franco Gamber in second, and Almar Carr in third position. What are your thoughts on that, Yuri?
No big surprises there. I think looks quite simple for Mercedes again. But let's see, of course, we know what happened in Austria, for example, so yeah, anything can happen. I would expect a Mercedes pole, but the battle for the second row should be very close.
Indeed so. Well, we're just going to take a little pause for a moment. We'll end the stream there and set up a new one for qualifying. But in the meantime, I've been JW97, he's been Yuri, and we'll see you in just a little bit for the qualifying session. See you in a bit.